The 2025 NFL Draft is coming up, and for Atlanta Falcons fans, the buzz is real. There's been a lot of discussion online and a lot of buzz among fans. Let's break it down, so be sure to hit the like button and comment below. Who would you like to see on our team this season? Does Fontenot still have a chance to make a move that could help the Falcons? Let us know in the comments. The big question now, who will the Falcons take with the 15th overall pick? Everyone has an opinion. But if you've been following Mel Kiper's latest draft board, there's one name that might surprise you. And no, it's not the edge rusher you were expecting. There's been a lot of speculation about what the Falcons should do with this pick. Should they address the pass rush? Should they bolster the secondary? Or is there a wild card option that no one is expecting? Well, let's get to it, because some of these potential picks might not please every Falcons fan. Let's start with the obvious. The Falcons need an edge rusher. They need someone who can get after the quarterback and change games, something the defense has been lacking for years. And there's one name that stands out, Mike Green, defensive end, Marshall. The guy led the entire FBS with 17 sacks last season. 17. That's production you can't ignore. But there's one catch. Green is a bit of a mystery. He started his college career at Virginia, barely saw the field, then disappeared for an entire season. Transfers to Marshall, plays 1 year, and suddenly, he's a sack machine. Is he a hidden gem? Or is he a one-hit wonder? That's what Falcons scouts have to figure out. And then there's the off-field issue. Allegations, serious ones, from both high school and college. Now, nothing has been proven, and NFL teams do their homework. But if you're Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris, do you risk a first-round pick on a guy with question marks? If the Falcons go with the safest, most dominant defensive player, the name that keeps coming up is Will Johnson, cornerback, Michigan. If you've watched our coverage before, you know how high we are on Johnson. The guy is a straight-up lockdown corner. For interceptions, 8 pass breakups, and 3 pick-sixes over the last 2 years. But there's another factor in play, injuries. He missed significant time in 2024 with a turf toe injury, and he hasn't run a 40-yard dash at the combine or his pro day. That has teams a little hesitant. Is he fast enough to hang with NFL receivers? And if not, does that lower his ceiling? But imagine Johnson alongside A.J. Terrell and Jesse Bates. That's a secondary that could dominate for years. Still, the Falcons have been linked to linebackers as well. Enter Jalen Walker from Georgia. 6.5 sacks last year, an absolute freak athlete, and a guy you can get creative with in blitz packages. But here's the problem, he's not really an edge rusher, and he's not a true middle linebacker either. Atlanta just signed Divine Deablo, and they've already got Caden Ellis and Troy Anderson. So where does Walker fit? If he's sitting there at 15, do the Falcons take a pure talent, even if it's not a perfect positional need? And then there's Jayad Campbell, linebacker, Alabama. Unlike Walker, he's a true middle linebacker, but that's exactly why he doesn't seem like a fit for Atlanta. The Falcons don't need another off-ball linebacker. They need a pass rusher or a corner. So unless Walker is so elite that he's simply the best player available, it's hard to see the Falcons pulling the trigger on a linebacker this early. Now, let's talk about Mel Williams, edge rusher, Georgia. If the Falcons want to take a swing on a high-upside pass rusher, Williams is an interesting choice. He's got the prototypical size at 6 feet 5 inches, 265 pounds, and his speed to power is elite. But there's a concern. 5 sacks in 12 games. That's not terrible, but for a first-round edge rusher, you'd expect more. Some say an early season ankle injury slowed him down. Others wonder if he just hasn't fully developed yet. But here's the thing, if you're picking at 15, you need to be sure you're getting consistent production. And then there's Malachi Starks, safety, Georgia. Another name on Kiper's board that might surprise some fans. He's not a priority need for Atlanta, but the talent is undeniable. Starks is a playmaker. He's physical, instinctive, and has great ball skills. Could the Falcons double down on the secondary, knowing they could address pass rusher in round 2? That's a real possibility. But let's not forget the wild card, Jackson Dart, quarterback, Ole Mississippi. He wasn't even ranked a few weeks ago, and now he's jumped all the way up to 18th on Kiper's board. Could he sneak into the conversation at 15? Probably not, but it's worth keeping an eye on, especially if the Falcons want to think long-term at quarterback. So, where does this leave Atlanta? If you're asking me, Will Johnson and Mike Green are the two biggest names to watch. Johnson is the best player available, while Green fills the team's biggest need. If you want to roll the dice on upside, Mel Williams is intriguing. But what do you think? Should the Falcons prioritize pass rush, or should they take the best player available and build an elite secondary? Drop a comment below. And here's where things get really interesting. Because while the Falcons are sitting at pick 15, we have to ask, could a trade be in the works? Think about it. Atlanta has a roster built to win now with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, a solid offensive line, and weapons like Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. But they still have glaring holes on defense. If the right player isn't available at 15, could we see Terry Fontenot move down to accumulate more picks? Here's why this scenario makes sense. The Falcons don't just need one defensive playmaker, they need multiple. If the edge rushers they like aren't there at 15, why not trade back into the 20s and grab an extra second or third rounder? Teams like the Cowboys, Dolphins, or even the Chiefs could be looking to move up for a specific player. And if the Falcons can still land someone like Mike Green, Malachi Starks, or even Jade Barron a few picks later while adding more draft capital, that could be a win. But let's play the opposite scenario. What if the Falcons see an opportunity to move up the board? This is where things get really juicy. If an elite pass rusher like Dallas Turner or Jared Verse starts sliding down the board, does Atlanta get aggressive and make a move? We've seen teams in this position package a second-round pick to move up a few spots and land a game-changer. Could that be in the cards for the Falcons? It all depends on how the board shakes out. And let's be honest, pass rushers are going to fly off the board early. The Bears, Giants, and even the Seahawks could all take one before Atlanta even gets on the clock. If that happens, the Falcons might have to adapt and go with a different plan. But let's circle back to what happens if they stay at 15. There's a real scenario where the Falcons take Will Johnson, Malachi Starks, or even Nick Emanwari and still get an edge rusher in round 2. Why? Because this year's draft is deep at pass rusher. Players like James Pierce Jr., Chris Braswell, or Adissa Isaac could all be there when Atlanta picks again. And if they feel like those guys aren't far behind someone like Mike Green or Mel Williams, why not get the best defensive back first and attack the edge later? But here's where the debate starts. Because there's another philosophy to consider. If the Falcons need an edge rusher, why risk waiting? What if all the good ones are gone by round 2? That's why taking Mike Green or Mel Williams at 15 makes so much sense. You lock in a pass rusher now and figure out the rest later. So, what's the best move for Atlanta? Stick at 15 and take the best player available? Trade down for more picks? Or go all in and move up for an elite edge rusher? This is why the draft is so unpredictable. And this is why Falcons fans need to be locked in on draft night. Because one thing is clear, this pick will define the Falcons' defense for years to come. So now, it's over to you. What should Atlanta do at 15? Should they take the best player available, even if it's not an edge rusher? Should they trade back for more picks? Or should they move up and take a defensive superstar? Drop a comment below. I want to hear your thoughts. And if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe for all the latest Falcons draft coverage. Go Falcons!